Hello and welcome on in everyone, I'm Space Wizard Total War, and in today's video we have ourselves some patch notes for Warhammer 3 that have dropped in the form of a dev blog. So let's get to learning about what's coming in patch 6.1. Hey folks, the time has come for us to talk more about what's coming to Warhammer 3 in patch 6.1, hey, we just said that. And today we have one of our talented designers here to shed some light on the changes and additions you can expect to see when it arrives in mid-March. Before we hand over the mic, we'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who has opted into our campaign AI beta on Steam over the past few weeks. We've had some great feedback and we're already hard at work parsing through. Actually haven't had the opportunity to jump into this myself, but I will be, hopefully, if it's still able to, before the end of the week here. And we'll be closing this current round of beta testing this Friday, so I need to hurry up. The beta feedback will remain open until Sunday, 2nd of March, 21 GMT, so if you haven't already, please do take a few minutes to share your thoughts with us and have your voice heard to help shape the future of campaign AI. We'll be in touch near the future with an update for on our steps, and hopefully set a date for the next beta round. With that said, it's time to hand over to Will to talk more about what's coming with 6.1 in mid-March. Enjoy. Thank you, Steve. Let's get right to the actual patch itself. So greetings. This time around you get me, William Hakestad. If I pronounce this incorrectly, I apologize, William. Thanks for sharing this blog. A game designer here to talk about the upcoming content for the 6.1 patch. So up front, let's talk why. Alongside the release of 6.1, we're planning to change how Shadows of Change is sold, by splitting the 3 legendary lords into standalone packs that can either be purchased individually or as a bundle. That is an incredible bit of news to hear. I don't know if it's going to change people's mind too much, but if you all want just one of those packs, either a Stonkia or Yuan Bo, I say is the one to pick up. The Changelings campaign is just a little bit too easy, and so I don't tend to have as much fun with it. So we're taking this opportunity to also revisit a pain point that was raised with the original release. One of the consistent messages we heard loud and clear from the community is that not enough attention had been given to the existing content in lieu of the new content. So we're taking a crack at equalizing that a bit now. So we're getting our updates to KISLEV and Zinch. I don't know if Cathay is good, because Cathay already had a sweep. So as a heads up, each of the pieces of content in this article are at various stages of development, which limits what we can say confidently or what images we have to show for specific features. And the specifics are liable to change as we continue to chisel out what works, what doesn't work, and what our code department will let us maverick designers get away with. Indeed. Alright, so first up we're starting with KISLEV. Our headliner for this drop is KISLEV, who we identified as the most in need of a deep review and rethink. Our focus here is on uplifting the entirety of KISLEV, interrogating their core features and bringing them up to snuff. Interrogating, huh? You Brits use interrogating differently than we do. Rather than focusing on specific, because you see, I see you guys in the back just waterboarding KISLEV on repeat. That just could be the American in me. Rather than focusing on a specific faction or character. So without too much preamble, we've got the Court and Orthodoxy. I'll scroll on down here a bit, so you can see this lovely image with its placeholders. We got a chill dude, we got some frosty plans, inhale, exhale, and glacial destruction. Indeed, these are clearly work in progress placeholders, but I'm liking what we're seeing here. So up front, the supporter race is no more. Oh, how glorious. When we started looking at how we wanted to approach KISLEV in a 2.0 core feature set, we concluded that we wanted to wipe the slate clean, keep the themes and ideas intact, but shed the baggage of the existing system. I think this is a good call. The race has always been very weird. Very easy to win, because the other faction usually just dies, but still very strange. The core of the new feature is still building support for the 2 dominant institutions within KISLEV, with the end goal and progress are significantly changed. As you can see here, it looks like you're building up a bar with a amount of this fisticuff looking, here we can probably zoom in, yeah we can, this fisticuff looking icon here. So the Great Orthodoxy is extremely ahead, as we got 4 and 3, so we don't know what any of this means. Other than it looks like you probably fill the bar up and you get yourself an additional point, and then you can spend those on rituals. Perhaps. We may be entirely wrong. Let's continue to read on. So like they said, it's a work in progress. In the new system, you will accrue support for either side of the conflict via a variety of actions, including fielding relevant units, using thematically aligned agents, constructing buildings, and dedicating your adamants. As you raise your support, you'll receive boons from these major factions, presenting you a secondary progression mechanic that lets you get powerful benefits. So this is very similar to like your administration for your more historical games, where as you build up buildings, it basically adds to your administrative burden, where instead of it's an administrative burden, this one, it is those different units, as long as they are for the specific cultures or I guess the specific institutions in Cathay, be it the Ice Court or the Orthodoxy, that's going to change how much of your devotion up here you're gaining. So when you do, we have rituals for, it looks like battle, character, settlement, global, and magics will have lots of things you can do. Sounds great to me. Alright, so curry favor with the Orthodoxy to improve your common line troops, strengthen your economy, oh really, and improve your invocations. Ah, very good stuff. You really do want to balance this. Of course, you could go all in on one side, make it a challenge campaign, but let's get back to reading. And support the Ice Court to in order to improve your elite infantry, spellcasting, and hero usage. Ice Court is elite infantry, spellcasting, and heroes, and then the Orthodoxy is common line troops, economy, and invocations. Hopefully this isn't just elite infantry and it's elites in general, so like all of the Ice Court elites, and then the like the Griffin Legion too. A key change here is that this is no longer a race. It's a race. Instead, supporting one side of the conflict can cause rising unrest and invite disorder into KISLEV. In the face of growing threat of chaos, KISLEV must seek unity. Therefore, players are encouraged to balance the support they curry for each of the factions. You may favor one, but favoring them too strongly incurs the wrath of the other. So we may actually be able to declare war on Castelton now. Or like we'll have little rebel armies pop up that are Orthodoxy or Ice Court based if you just are not supporting them at all. I'll have to see. As for the other aspect of the KISLEV devotion, another aspect of KISLEV feature we're taking a crack at is devotion, moving away from a faction-wide resource to a provincial one, replacing control for KISLEV. Oh, how interesting. Representing the Fervor X, we can zoom down so you can see the icon here. Representing the fervor of the local populace acts much like control, but can be spent on local invocations to temporarily boost the local province. And as earlier said, is you will be boosting these invocations by raising your relations with the Orthodoxy. Can be spent on invocations to temporarily boost the local province, or empower an army temporarily. A core tenet of the KISLEV approach is that they're strongest at home and prefer well-settled core territories. A high level of devotion also allows KISLEV to counteract the penalties of climates, allowing them significant settling flexibility. Oh, this is for Boris. In exchange for a slow ramp up to suitability. And making the territory usable for using invocations. Or, I'm sorry, unsuitable for using invocations. So yeah, you have a slower ramp up in... so you have to basically build that devotion up before you can actually properly settle the area, and then you're not really able to use invocations, because you'll take those penalties as the devotion drops immediately. Interesting. It's a fun little trade-off. And of course, these are not going to be the end game ones. We've got our devotion bar, and then we've got the dark elf symbols. Yes. Throw those slaves in the fire, KISLEV. Onward to our Adamants. While the core idea of Adamants is strong, we feel like it go further. So here's a short list of things we're looking at for Adamants. I'm very glad they're re-looking at these, because I still am not entirely sure. See, Adamants are like a background lord that has events on the along the campaign. But besides that, they don't really do anything, and it seems like you're penalized every time you do recruit them, so kind of an interesting one. Adamants can no longer be permanently recruited on the campaign map as good. This is a good change. As a standard lord to lead an army. We felt this muddied their identity as garrison commanders and didn't fit the spirit of the feature. Adamants now enable a new feature for settlements, tentatively called Garrison Sally Attack. Can we call it the Hussars Arrive? They Arrive, we'll just call it They Arrive. Where you can command settlements managed by them to engage enemies within a limited distance, so we can save Vienna, as if these settlements themselves were armies. I love this. The motherland can rise up and crush invaders. Of course, the capital of the province is led by the Ataman himself, who takes the field with the garrison during this attack. So the Ataman will only be present when you're fighting with the whatever that capital of the province, and it seems like the Atamans are going to be for every single province instead of just one or the other, or every other. So we'll have to see. Atamans have a unique battle loadout, dropping the offensive dual weapon loadout of the standard Boyar, or a more staunch shield, axe, and pistol kits. They're going to be a hybrid, similar to our Gate Guard. I think they're going to be incredibly tanky. Atamans now have a skill tree and gain experience while administering settlements, allowing them to improve their governing, strengthen their garrisons, and dedicate themselves to the sects to improve your support. So they can either be Orthodoxy or Ice Court based. This sounds so amazing. Like the change they did to the Balloon Boys over with Cathay. Alright, onward to the tech tree. The KISLEV tech tree is getting a full refresh, being reorganized and revamped. Subdivided into a triplet layout centered around 3 core gameplay pillars of KISLEV. We'll have the land, the people, and the state. Lovely. This one's going to be all about suppressing the people. Alright, so we've got the Ice Court and the Orthodoxy from what we can hear down. See here, there's something that says incite. So maybe you can set up a rebellion in the Orthodoxies area. Who knows? But you can see that we've got some of the old technologies in here. This looks like a new one, permafrost wards. And then formalized dogma. There's some of the KISLEV technology I don't have quite memorized, but this does look quite nice, even as a start. I do like that we're going into the kind of the 3 trees for a lot of the factions, where you kind of have their the different categories all set up. So you have your campaign mechanics, your battle mechanics, and then usually something like control or research or something like the heroes or something along those lines. And that is always a good bit of fun. Lets you specialize quite a bit more in your research. Our goal here is to significantly open up your choices, making KISLEV have a quite open and navigable tech tree, with many possible starts and short paths to end of the line techs, with a variety of new and improved technologies, which we can see one here. We have a quick cut because I've just got some incredibly rude neighbors right now. I'm not sure what's going on. It sounds like they're doing donuts around the apartment. We're back. The bulwark of the Zarina tech here, it requires permafrost wards like we saw up there. Duty to KISLEV hardens the resolve of the Zargard and the unbreakable core that anchors the KISLEVite battle lines. And additional armor for Zargard units, which is a little bit of a bump. And then charge defense versus large for Zargard units, which I think is incredible. KISLEV does really suffer from not having any late game infantry that actually are able to hold the line against large targets. You're gonna have to rely on your KISLEVite warriors, which into the late game is a little bit spooky. Staunch is all it says. Technology is no longer locked behind owning the KISLEV capitals, as we felt this heavily incentivized early infighting in KISLEV. Sure. Oh, were we not supposed to murder the Ropsman clan? Oh, this whole time the Ropsman clan was supposed to be our ally. Well, I know. Listen. We need Prague, so it's going to belong to Katerin now. I guess that makes sense. So I thought they were talking initially about Kastalton. They're talking about the Ropsman clan. Alright, so now onward to Tzeentch, Fragments of Sorcery. While KISLEV is our main offering in this batch, we've also got something for Tzeentch to chew on. Our focus this time round is on KAIROS, who represents our intended standard Tzeentch experience. He's going to be the standard. Look at this down here. I know this is a work in progress, but he's going to be the standard? How exciting. It's clear to us that the original Fragments of Sorcery implementation wasn't quite up to snuff. So here's our take 2. From a gameplay angle, the feature needs a little explanation. The core promise of the Fragments of Sorcery was versatility to build your own composite lore, and the design quickly narrowed in on a true any combination you want feature that completely did away with the idea of an ancillary slot and moved the decision to making its own tab of the character detail panel. While we're at it, how about we draw back the curtain a bit and showcase how a feature is visually concepted. Following the core concepting and preliminary technical documentation, we start with what's called a mock-up. Usually the first ones are made by the feature designer who puts together a visual focused primarily on functionality to take the UI/UX teams for refinement. Not every first idea makes it past this phase, and a mock-up is particularly helpful for considering the hypothetical UX flow of a feature. For example, here is the first mock-up of the hypothetical build, a lore panel for KAIROS. Hold on to your pants. KAIROS doesn't have any pants, so we don't need any either. So we've got ourselves a work in progress. There's a lot going on here. So we've got common, uncommon, and rare magics from the lore of Tzeentch. And then looks like you could slot in 2 common, 2 uncommon, and 2 rare for your final box. I still like it. Can you believe I never put amazing technical artist on my CV? Well, definitely not. This is glorious. Obviously, while this outlines a lot of technical requirements for the feature, it also highlights the flaws of a design translated from the original technical specs, perhaps too closely. Information overload is saying it lightly. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. But a little refinement goes a long way. The second take, after I was done wincing at the first mock-up, looked like this. Quite a bit better. Love the arcane circle design here. So this is definitely more of a table, your first kind of figure, and then it looks a lot more like what you'd kind of start to get to see, although still in your kind of very work in progress form. Still looks great. It starts to get better as you go on. Starts to develop. The core idea of matching the visuals of the in-battle spell wheels struck a chord. The combination of the technical specs and this mock-up went to the UI/UX, who quickly whipped up our first gray box. And these look incredible. I'm absolutely here for the wheel design. The core idea of matching the visuals to oh yeah, we already read this part. These gray boxes are interactive and can be used to trial the intended flow, letting us pretend to use the feature in a controlled environment to see how it feels to navigate. Get a closer look here. Like, it's not really. It's not that much closer of a look, but you can see they've got the wheel design up now into the points of chaos, and you can see 2 icons for KAIROS. Oh, each side of probably each of his different personalities. Happy with the overall direction, we moved the feature to sketch the layout, including investigating our art direction. Where it gets even better, we've got the Eye of Siege down the middle, which likely is going to follow you. We prototyped a couple of different visual styles. I do like this one a bit more. But this idea of a massive central eye watching your cursor was a bit of visual flair we never let go. It's quite zinchy. Early versions of the selected selection interface, so slotting in the individual spells you want. Everything is a process, and at each stage, stakeholders from design and UI came together to weigh in on the direction. And stakeholders. Keeping the things we liked and discarding or improving the things we didn't. Always need your tints. No, I do love this. They kind of combined both into a much more refined version. You can see some of the key feedback points being handled, how does the KAIROS feature flavor text explaining how you can work abilities from each head. Also, the different sides of KAIROS can use the different spells. Also tells you that you can unlock new slots and switch abilities at any time with some cooldowns. Glorious. Here you can see some of the key feedback points being handled, making the holders for spell icons feel more integrated in the outer ring. No, I agree, this looks great. Here's the ring itself. The twin heads of KAIROS know 4 lores apiece, so the UI is designed to evoke this bit of lore. You can slot in those 4 spells on each side and then 1, probably Cataclysm spell for the center. The selection wheel, listen, don't quote me on this. There's likely no way we'll have a Cataclysm spell all the time, but Gelt has access to some Cataclysm spells, so let's give him to KAIROS. And while we're at it, Techless too. The selection wheel is rendered both without any elements and fully loaded. Yeah, it looks great either way. Why not the Changeling is the next question. The Changeling is a complicated topic. We've been keeping an eye on a lot of the discussions surrounding him, and have had some pretty intense ones internally, but here's where we stand today. The Changeling has resonated strongly with people both in negative and positive ways, and that's absolutely the truth. We've seen a lot of intense discussion surrounding topics like the challenge and what a campaign needs to have in order to be a Total War campaign. You know, I consider the Changeling to be by far the easiest campaign. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not a Total War campaign, it's just, if it doesn't have challenge to me, then I'm not as interested in playing it. That's just the way I am. A fascinating topic in itself. But while the conversation has very passionate people calling for significant change, the consensus isn't so clear. I think there's not a lot that you could really do to make him a lot better, because he is supposed to be just an absolute troll to anyone and everyone. And that's his entire personality, so the Changeling running around and just causing problems everywhere is very on flavor, so we'll have to see what they decide to do to fix him up. And I honestly I don't have too many ideas myself on how you can fix up the Changeling. We see his fans, the people who revel in the departure from the regular structure of a campaign and the freedom from difficult threats and concerns. Yeah, now the freedom from threats and concerns is something I'm not the biggest fan of. So maybe a little bit more of a balance on how easy it is for you to be discovered based on the buildings you're using. Because otherwise you just can sit there and cackle the whole time. You never have to worry about it. We also have to respect the data, which shows that he sits to a 50-50 split on play rate with KAIROS, and that he enjoys regular middle-of-the-road popularity on new campaign pick rates. Internally, we've taken to calling him a Marmite faction. You either love him or hate him. And we've decided that for 6.1, we'll be leaving things as they are for the Changeling. Not every campaign can be for everyone, and this does make sense. Does this mean we'll never change the Changeling? Pun somewhat intended. Probably not, but he's a wild card, and there's definitely some rough edges to deal with, but we feel that for 6.1, our focus should be on raising the elements that make KAIROS unique, instead of risking losing the magic that makes the Changeling work for his fans. And I would agree that this is a good way to go about this. Fix up KAIROS. We'll with back around to fixing with the Changeling in the future, because he doesn't really need that much work, he just needs a little bit more challenge. This isn't an end to the conversation. We'd love for those passionate discussions to continue, and rest assured that we read them and discuss them. Up next, we actually have some free units coming in with 6.1. As a further little goodie for this patch, we've also got a pair of new units, one for Cathay and one for the Ogre Kingdoms. How exciting. I do absolutely adore. Actually, I think we need a alternate version of all of the art where it's just this. CA. I would happily have drawn on art for a lot of these as an alternate version. Would I use it all the time? No, because this art is lovely, and these artists deserve all of the credit they can get. But just as a joke every now and again, this would be hilarious. So it looks like we've got some Cathayan bombers, and then a Noblar, Bonk, Stick, and Net guys. We'll see. Usually if there is a book image or early concept, we'll use that as a placeholder image for that unit. Unfortunately, this time around, you get more of my beautiful art. Well, at least we can tell it's a lovely Noblar, and a bun-wielding bomb lady. So first we've got Nangao Grenadiers. For Cathay, who is part of the original Shadows of Change, we have a new human unit to add some specialist tools to your army building. The Nangao Grenadiers are relatively cheap grenade-slinging infantry, vulnerable due to their lower entity count, but armed with a significant stockpile of grenades to disrupt and destroy mass enemies. So they are your Vampire Count's bombers for Cathay. They also carry a specialist stun grenade, which at baseline, that means we've got some new tech or something that is going to allow us to buff that up even further. Allows them to significantly impair the combative ability of all enemy units in a large radius once per battle, so they just drop the concussion grenades and run. So the Grenadiers move around the battlefield, supporting allied troops with stun bombs and scattering infantry with volleys of grenades. Yeah, that's gonna be terrifying. Although interesting to see, because we do already have the Iron Hail guns, so we'll have to do some comparison to see just how much more damage the Iron Hail guns do comparatively to the bombers. I would love to see the Iron Hail guns get a little bit of a damage bump. They feel really weak comparatively to the other blunderbuss units. Moving on. Even though, actually, before we do move on, if not a damage bump to the Iron Hail guns, make them so they have maybe lower damage but higher range than other blunderbusses. That would be great. Now we're moving on. Noblar Flingers. Mostly not bonk stick lads. That looks like a bonk stick and a net. I thought we were gonna get kind of like a Noblar, almost like a Noblar gutter runner. Noblar Flingers. Hailing from the same Noblar army list that gave us pigback riders for omens of destruction, the Noblar Flingers are a cheap, weak range unit for the ogres that engage at a significantly longer range than the hand-thrown weapons of the trappers. Alright, most akin to the Skaven Slave Slinger. I mean, I've seen what some of the creators and some of you all can do with Skaven Slave Slingers, so I don't count these guys out, if by the barest smidge a little braver. These malicious Noblars exist to harass enemy units from the safety of the back line, particularly adept at annoying brave halberd units, who issue a shield in order to take on the large ogre threats this faction normally fields. And that absolutely makes sense. They're going to be for dropping halberds, or getting around into the flanks of your spearmen, or even probably, depending on what their range is, dueling with the likes of crossbows, while your ogres rip apart their front line. Fantastic. Lastly, here we have an afterword, and that's about it. I hope you enjoyed some insight into the things we're looking for at 6.1. This article doesn't cover everything being changed. We're looking at some further minor tweaks to a couple things, such as the Ice Court character recruitment feature, but it showcases our major hits, and hopefully this means nothing's really changing with the Ice Court character recruitment, and they're giving one to the Patriarchy, and they're going to give one to the Hag Witches of the Woods as well. A little bit different flavor for each one, but no, I don't think anyone would be upset about having the same kind of Hogwarts mechanic for Patriarchs for Castalton and Hag Witches for Ostankia. We hope to get this content out to you soon and are excited to read your thoughts. William. Thank you very much, William, and thank you all for stopping on by this patch notes video. Let me know what you thought of what we are receiving here in 6.1. I think everything that's coming is going to be quite fantastic. Can't wait for the changes to see the actual changes to Cathay, or not Cathay, KISLEV, and get in there and properly does not get a campaign going with both Castalton and Caterin, and see how the difference is with supporting either the Ice Court or the Orthodoxy with the opposite. I also can't wait to get in and try out some of these new variants. I always love getting some new free units, even if they are like a reskin of the bombers and some more like a Skaven Slave Sling for the ogres. It matters not. It's more units to play with, more variety for your armies, which is always great. Thank you all so much for stopping on by today's patch notes video. If you enjoyed and you're still here, please remember to leave a like for the like god and a sub for the sub thone, and I'll see you all in the next one.